Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax while we chat about what is happening in the stars above us for what is turning out to be a very quiet weekend. Hello, everybody. I'm glad you're here. We do have a bit to talk about because if you'll remember, I'm going to be out of town next week. So I won't be on air on Monday. So, everything from Monday's energies, we're going to talk about today because I can't let you go without knowing about the full moon in Aries, especially since it happens to be a full moon, super moon. If you'll remember, a super moon is described as a moon that comes within 90% of the closest approach it ever makes to the planet Earth. So that means the moon is close. And during a super moon, it feels like it's bigger, feels like it's closer to us. It seems more, I don't know, there in your face, right? And it's a full moon. So hopefully, wherever you are, you will be able to see it as well. Yay. I am hoping so. I will be in California at that point in time, Northern California. So I'm hoping for clear skies because right now I don't know if we would get them here or not. Now, let's see. We're going to start the morning by talking about some human design information. And that's because yesterday we switched weeks. We moved into the new human design week with the sun at the gate 48 and with the earth at the gate 21. So you'll remember we are now at a time where the sun is moving through the gates of the spleen center, which means that all of the gates there are gates that link us to survival energies that are about our intuition and timing in the now, right? This is a center that's all about the now. And as well, these gates can double as fear gates in the template, which means that for the months, the last week of September, all of October, the first week of November, we are all possibly dealing with the shadow energies that come up from within us, right? Shadows that might represent different fears that we are experiencing. So with the sun's move into the gate 48, we are dealing with the energy of wisdom. And I'm going to share my screen because on my screen, you'll see the body graph. And there we go. Boom. And in the body graph here, here is the spleen center at the lower left corner. It's highlighted here in pink. And the sun is at the gate 48 highlighted in blue here. And I'm differentiating this because these other gates that are in pink are for a different section this morning that we're going to be talking about. So the gate 48 is located in the spleen center. So we know a couple of things about it. First of all, it relates to something that's going on in the now moment. We know that it governs something to do with instinct, survival intuition, health, perhaps because it's the center of health, and that it is an awareness center, right? The energy of the gate 48 is sitting in a space that generates awareness of how to live in the now. And gate 48 is sometimes called the well. In fact, its I Ching origins tell us that this gate was called the gate of the well or the deep well. And it's about depth, it's about resourcefulness and drawing on our inner knowing, right? It tells us that everything we need to know is deep within, that we don't have to add, one more thing to our knowing in order to be able to share what we know with others or to live our lives in a powerful way. So the shadow side here of the gate 48 is this fear of inadequacy or not knowing enough. So this is what we might be dealing with this week, where we're feeling like we need to learn more, do more, get one more certification, right? If I were launching a new program, I would launch it in the week where Gate 48 was powerful because people would pick up on, oh, I need to learn this, right? The shadow side, though, is that fear where you feel the pressure to prove your wisdom, where you doubt whether you're ready to share what you know. It would be sort of like a doctor continuing to learn from books rather than going out into the world and actually practicing what he knows or she knows on patients, right? This is where we have to take what we know out into the world. In the gift level, this is recognition that wisdom doesn't come from knowing everything, right? It comes from applying what you do know with humility. And it's about trusting your depth, trusting and allowing the right timing for your gift to emerge or your gifts to emerge. In the highest expression in the gene keys, it is the word wisdom. And it's a deep, embodied knowing that transcends facts and data and memories uh, and it allows for the right timing for your gift to emerge and tapping into your truth. The truth, the wisdom that you share helps others become uplifted and helps guide others. So it's an energy that's really important. Now we juxtapose that against the Earth sitting over here on the other side in the will center at the gate 21. And we know the will center is an engine or a motor. It has the energy of doing with it. And as such, it has an energy, a momentum. And the energy in this center is one that pulses on and pulses off. So it can become a place where we burn out very easily because we can get going on something and we can keep going beyond the point at which our intuition says it's time to stop. I did this yesterday and I paid the price because I got really irked, tired, exhausted feeling because I just kept going and going and going, even though I knew it was time not to do that anymore. But that is the nature of a motor, right? A motor can sometimes that energy can keep us feeling like we need to keep going. Um, and it deals this particular center deals with willpower and control and self-worth. It's resources, right? The resources that we have, time, energy, money, even. And the gate 21 in traditional human design is called the gate of control. In quantum human design, it's called the gate of self regulation. So, what we find here is this energy for creating sustainable structures in our lives or sustainable frameworks from which we can do our live our life, do our work, and be prosperous. Right? This is a center that likes to feel prosperous, and it's about regulating the resources. Then and you regulating it rather than you trying to control others or control the conversation or the dynamics. It's about relaxing into it and just using the energy to self-regulate, right? To make sure you know what you're doing and do it for yourself. In the gift of this particular gate, gate 21, we have self regulation and stewardship. Stewardship was a big word a couple of years ago. I brought this word out and said, this is this big theme. And now we see this theme maybe coming back up. And stewardship means managing of your own energy, of your own resources, your time, your commitments, so that you're not overextending yourself. The energy of this center sometimes sees us forcing or pushing. And eventually, if we do that too often, we burn out, right? And we get sick or we get overly tired. And then it affects our attitude. We don't get anything done. Um, and it can become very frustrating, especially if you're a generator type and you have this happening to you. In the Siddhi, the highest expression of the gate 21, it is all about valor. Interesting word to place here in the gene keys. It's the courage to live with integrity and to govern your life wisely without fear, but also without forcing things to happen. And another interesting thing about this particular center is that its pulse is pretty rhythmic, right? You could be working, 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 and then it's time to rest. And if you do take that break, that rest, then when you come back to working again, you have fresh eyes perhaps or fresh energy. And I always liken it to, watching animals play, especially dogs, right? They play, 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 and then they stop. They go get a drink of water, they go take a nap, and then they come back at it. That's the natural flow of the universe. But because this center is about willpower, we can power our way through and miss the signal from our bodies, from our minds, from our mental capacities that it's time to stop and take a break. So make sure you build in breaks. And this is the earth. So the earth grounds this in, right? In order for us to get to the highest expression of wisdom, we have to be able to manage our time, our energy, and our resources. So I hope that makes sense for everybody. Now, let's talk about how the sun and earth polarity work for us this week. Okay, so this is the energy of why these two planets come together at this particular time. So remember, the spleen center is the center for fear or instinct and wisdom, if those are the higher, octaves of each other. And it's in a dynamic balance this week with the will center, which is about control and stewardship and valor, right? Those are the key words. So together, these gates, the 48 and the 21, invite you to trust your inner wisdom while also regulating how you act on it, right? It's only up to you. There's no outside forces that are going to tell you when it's time to relax or time to rest. Your inner self, your body is doing that. Now, you may also fear inadequacy this week. This is just one of the things that comes up, but the grounding comes from managing your energy and your knowledge and your wisdom and your resources wisely, not getting caught up in the fear field. Remembering that in human design, we always say, feel the fear and do it anyway, right? The polarity of these two gates really reminds us that true wisdom requires not only depth, but also the discipline to act responsibly and in the right timing. Right. And the right timing is different for different types, but certainly the right timing would be seemingly when there's an invitation or when your intuition is speaking or when your emotional energy brings you clarity. So, a couple of reflection questions for everyone this week. One, where do you doubt your depth or your wisdom? And then how can you honor what you already know without seemingly on an endless quest for more wisdom or more knowledge? Right? How can you honor what you already know? And then ask yourself, are you over controlling situations, either yourself or others, or are you regulating yourself and using your resources, time, energy, money, whatever it is, um, in integrity? Or are you overdoing it, over imbibing, over buying, that kind of thing? And then, if so, then the next question logically is, how can you move from fear of inadequacy to living your truth with courage, i.e., valor in the gene keys? Interesting questions for an interesting week. I'm going to stop sharing momentarily and go back to StreamYard and say good morning to people. Hello on YouTube. It's nice to see you. I'm not sure who you are, but hello and welcome. Julie, good to have you with us this morning. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, good morning to you. J Lo, hello. And Christine, good morning. I don't know where everybody is this morning. It's kind of crazy. I hope it's not a problem with YouTube again or on Facebook. On YouTube says, I'm a manifesting generator, profile 5-1 with an undefined ajna and head center. The rest is defined. Hi, Nahid. So when you have a defined spleen, now you may or may not have the gate 48 to find. You'd have to look at the specific gates that define your spleen. So let's say you do have it. If you have the gate 48 defined by whatever planet it is, you're used to already doing or behaving in a way that is either I need to know more or I know plenty and I'm sharing it, right? Those are the two kinds of choices that the spleen at this gate makes. If you are open there, then that adds to whatever it is that defines your spleen, Nahid. So you might be experiencing a new sense of not feeling like you know enough, or that you aren't prepared to go out and share your message or do your work or do what you love. So watch for that, because this would be new for you in that case. And whatever it is that you felt not good enough about would tempt you to spend more time learning rather than spending your time sharing your wisdom. So that's something for everybody, but in particular you, because of the way that yours is already designed. Your human design is already built up. Okay, now that was a great question, and thank you. And as a manifesting generator, by the way, you have the opportunity to do multitasking, right? Many different things can be going on in your life, and you actually work better when you have that. But you also have your limits, right? You have to be able to engage in things that are meaningful for you, that are showing up in your outer world rather than coming up from inside of you, so that you don't, split yourself into so many pieces that you don't get anything accomplished. So watch for that as well. All right. Now, next, I want to talk about on Monday, Mercury's move into Scorpio. And I'm going to do this a little differently because I want to talk about it from the astrological point of view, and then I want to talk about it from the human design point of view. So let's kind of start with the astrology, and I'm going to show you. This is actually the chart of the full moon that I'm showing you right now, but I didn't drop a separate chart just for Mercury in Scorpio. But here is where we have Scorpio. If you're looking at the chart, look at the lower right corner of the chart. You'll see that we've got quite a bit going on in Scorpio energy already. So as of the full moon, we'll have Mercury at 0 degrees of Scorpio, right? It moves in just before the moon is full on Monday. We have Mars in Scorpio, and he's the powerhouse here because he actually owns the territory, right? He's the ruler of Scorpio. He's sitting at about 10 degrees. And then we also have the black moon Lilith here, taking a stand on our passions, taking a stand for what it is that we believe, that what it is that that anchors us to our truth. And there's an intensity here with these three planets already in the sign. So Scorpio is a big planet in this case, or Scorpio is a big sign in this instance, because it is also a sign that we think of that has connections to the fear gates, right? To the spleen. And I'm going to end up talking about that in just a few minutes. So Mercury in Scorpio, this happens on Monday morning. Um, Mercury represents the mind and communication, our perception, how we perceive things, our ideas, and how we learn. And in Scorpio, Mercury becomes deep, it becomes probing, it becomes investigative. It asks the questions, right? It's always digging deeper and looking, under the surfaces, looking at the places that not everybody looks or thinks to look. And conversations go beneath the surface, like we're digging deep. And superficial answers won't satisfy anybody during the few weeks that Scorpio is home to Mercury. Now, Scorpio Mercury often brings up truth telling and exposing hidden things, hidden motivations, and shadow operations, things that are in the dark that we don't see. And powerful intuition is triggered at this time too, that actually kind of helps us to go looking and digging in the right areas, right? For the right reasons and the right places. So overall for us during this Mercury in Scorpio transit, it's an excellent time for researching, for digging deep, for uncovering patterns, um, for therapy, right? For having astrology readings that dig to the deep, dig into the depth of who you are and the crux of any kind of problem, to have a transformative dialogue, whether you're talking that out loud with yourself or through journaling or with another person. It's a great time for that kind of work. But it can also lead us to obsessive thoughts, suspicion, or cutting words if we're not mindful about how it is that we're using language. So think of it as, mental x-ray vision that you have for the time Mercury is in Scorpio, because what's hidden becomes visible, right? Just like an x-ray will show if a bone is broken or if something's damaged, or what's going on beneath the surface, so too will Mercury and Scorpio help us dig deep and look beneath the surface. So wherever you have Scorpio in your chart, if this chart here in front of you was a person, this would be happening in their fifth house of creativity, self-expression, risk-taking, children. And so these planets being in Scorpio in a fifth house might see somebody who's digging into their creative self, into love and romance even. Maybe there's a real passionate streak. Through which they meet somebody and connect on a very deep soul level. So that would be a fifth house, but certainly a lot of self-expression coming into play, if that is the house that Scorpio is in. Let's say you had Scorpio in the 10th house. That would be a lot of depth work looking into your career, your profession, your authority, your authenticity, your responsibility, and how you show up in the public, right? How does the public perceive you? How does your outer world receive you or perceive you? So, depending on what house it's in, this is where this depth is coming up. Um, and uh, That'll be different for each one of you. So hopefully you know your own chart. There's something new on my website, and I keep meaning to bring this to you. If you go to living dash or hyphen astrology.com and go to the astrology tab, and it'll say get my free chart, you can actually generate your own astrology chart and report right there on my website now. And as you've been able to do that with human design, but now you can do that with astrology as well, which gives you an opportunity to go get your chart at any time and to take a look at, printing it off, doing whatever. You also download a little mini report that goes with it. So there, I mentioned it. Okay, so let me see. Any questions about people's Scorpio in their chart? I know a couple of you are very Scorpio-ish and have, wait, I made that bigger, but did you guys actually see that on my screen? I don't know. Pam Zaruba, good morning. Natal Mercury in Scorpio, and then uh, and being a mental projector. So your mind will be very cutting at this point in time, I would say, Pam. Maybe, cutting, but not in a bad way necessarily, but depth, right? Perceptive, being able to cut right in, cut to the chase, if you will, and be able to uh, get to the point, right? Get to the deep. And sometimes that can be very disconcerting to others, especially, some people know their astrology. Pam, you obviously know your astrology. Nahid, you know yours, and Christine and JLo, Debbie, I know you guys know, pretty much a lot about your own personal astrology. But a lot of people out there know nothing about their astrology, right? This is a completely new subject. They might know some things about themselves, like I'm a Scorpio sun sign, maybe, but these nuances of other planets moving into signs is lost on them. So it's important to have your own chart so you can compare what I'm saying to how that will impact you in your natal chart by house, especially the houses, because the houses tell you the where in life this will happen. Right. So, first house, this is going to be about the self. It's going to be about you personally, your viewpoint, how others, what other people see in you first. Say seventh house, it's going to be about you and your relationships and the depth to which you have conversations with people that you're in relationship with, perhaps. So it's always important to know yourself, know your truth, and live it out loud, right? My new tagline. It's actually not new. I've been using it for a while. Now, I want to take a look at human design. So let me switch over here and share my screen. Oops, that is not what I want. I want to share my screen. There we go. Going back to our human design body graph. And here we go. And you'll notice that I highlighted some gates that are in pink or that purpley pink. And those are the Scorpio gates that Mercury will be moving through. And, soon to be followed by the sun. The sun will be moving through these gates as well eventually. Mars is moving through these gates now, as is the Black Moon Lilith. So these are important gates. Now, I want to teach you how these gates align with Scorpio energy because, these are systems that run tangentially, right? They're side by side, they run parallel to one another, but they're also, crossing over in some respects. And, the theme in Scorpio astrologically is all about transformation, depth, and shadow energies, power, truth telling, healing energy. Scorpio, believe it or not, is a very healing sign. It's also about renewal. The whole process of death and rebirth comes through a Scorpio viewpoint, but it is also about intensity and passion. Now, in the gates of human design, we can see these same energies that pop up. So the first gate that Scorpio moves through is the gate 50, and this is on the spleen center. So we know that this might be doubling as a fear gate. We know that it has something to do with being in the now moment, your intuition, and your survival, right? This is a survival energy. The gate 50 is called the gate of nurturing. And the theme in this gate is about responsibility for values, for order, and for caring for the collective, or maybe more appropriately, caring for your community, your family, or your tribe. This is tribal energy after all. And the Scorpio tie in here is that caring deeply is so important, but sometimes it turns into controlling energy, right? Knowing what's best. Father knows best, mother knows best, mothering energy. But deep transformation is possible here through re examining your inherited values, because this gate leads us to put out into the world material or our beliefs that are aligned with values, right? Values. And, the job of a mother, let's say, because this is mother energy, is to teach, or the mother figure in a life, right? It doesn't have to be mom, as in the female. The energy here could be about teaching the values to your children that they then take and they teach those values to their children, and so on and so forth. So it has a lot to do with values, but it also has to do with accountability. Being able to teach your children or the people in your community or tribe values so that they can then become responsible, accountable adults. Right? So this whole deep transformation scorpionic energy here has to do with re-examining values and making sure you're teaching people values and not controlling them as they learn them. At some point, you got to untie the apron strings and let them go out into the world. Now, the next Scorpio gate that Mercury will hit is the gate 28. Now, the gate 28 is called the gate of adventure, but also in quantum human design, but also the gate of challenge. And the theme in this particular gate is struggle. In fact, in quantum or in traditional human design, this was, I think, called the gate of struggle. And it's the struggle for meaning. It is the courage to face life and death and to find meaning in everyday existence. Where in Scorpio, this tie in here is that the classic Scorpio archetype is about facing mortality, transformation, death, and rebirth, and then turning fear into purpose and finding meaning in the struggle, right? Scorpio is all about that kind of stuff. So we tie that in with the search for meaning as Mercury moves through this, has us investigating these themes, but also maybe speaking to these themes or changing your mind about how you work these themes in your own life. Now, the next gate Mercury will move through is the gate 44. The gate 44 is called the gate of patterns. And I think in quantum human design, this is called the gate of truth. It is an interesting gate because its fear is about failing or the past repeating itself, excuse me. So the fear of failing because of the past. And the theme is about memory and then recognition of patterns that repeat in our lives. And those are past patterns of survival, perhaps, and perhaps about wisdom, right? But often in the fear field, this ends up being, this tie in to an experience, let's say, that we had in the past, and then a recognition that the pattern is redeveloping in our lives and the fear that it's going to go down the same way that it did before. And so we start to make choices that are protective or that are defensive instead of just being open to, well, let's see how this develops and where does this go. Now, the Scorpio tie in here is psychological insight, right? Scorpio is one of those psychological signs. It really takes us deep into the mind and the workings of the psyche, ancestral patterns that have imprinted upon us karmically, right? Karmic patterns, even, and the ability to break through those old patterns through awareness, right? Through feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So, Scorpio energy, very good fit here with the gate 44 as we are untying ourselves from those old ancestral patterns. And Mercury in the Scorpio mind is about those psychological insights that we may get that help us break free, right? Breaking free is a theme here too. All right. And now we switch from the spleen center with Mercury in Scorpio and jump up to the identity center. The identity center is the center for your soul. It is the seat of love and direction and identity, right? It's called the identity center. And the gate one is a Scorpio gate. It is the most young gate in human design. So that means it is outwardly moving, and its theme is about creative self expression. It's called the Gate of Purpose, and it is about bringing something new into the world. And it's funny because I know when I hear certain questions from people, like, what is my purpose? What am I here for? I almost always will see that they have something important at gate one and sometimes something important at gate 28, because those two gates seem to struggle to find meaning and purpose. Now, with Mercury sitting here, the Scorpio tie in is that there's this regenerative side of Scorpio energy and creating purpose from the ashes of transformation, right? As something dies, we give birth to something new, and the phoenix rising, right? This is very phoenixy kind of energy where shifting and changing creates this regeneration, this transformation that leads us to new heights, right? It's funny because in the sign of Scorpio, we have three levels, right? The first level is the scorpion, right? The lowest levels, that scorpionic scorpion energy that then leads us up to the eagle. When we go to the gift level, we begin to see the bigger picture, right? We see from the eagle eye view. And once we reach to the Siddhi level of Scorpio, I'm equating it to Gene Key's words, we have the phoenix, right? The ability to die to the old and transform into the new with new insight, new awareness, and a new level of evolution. So the gate one purpose being tied to Scorpio is absolutely perfect, right? The phoenix rising. Now, from the gate one, we jump up to the ajna, the second center down. This is the center for thinking and calculating and comparing and contrasting. And the theme here at the gate 43, which is called the gate of insight, is this breakthrough energy. It is breakthrough knowingness. And it often feels like that aha epiphany moment that you just are dying to share with people. Um, Innovative ideas come from this gate, yet sometimes this gate struggles to find the words that are going to make people understand the insight or the breakthrough. So sometimes this is, we call it, when the whole channel is defined, sometimes we call it the freak to genius channel. And that's because the gate 43 holds such genius, but in the wrong timing with the wrong people, the message falls flat, right? So the 43 has to be very careful about, who am I going to share this insight with? Is it the right timing? Is it the right people? And is it, the message that I'm here to share or not, right? Because there's always the or not. Now, the Scorpio tie-in here is this penetrating intuition that we know of for Scorpio. Radical insights come sometimes from that penetrating insight or that penetrating intuition, and disruptive truths that can't be ignored, right? And it scratches the surface and then takes that dive deep into what can't be ignored anymore, right? This whole idea of this insight, this breakthrough needing to come out to the right people in the right way with the right words and in the right timing. So Mercury will hit the 43. And remember, as I said, the sun will also come behind here and starting on what, October 22nd, 23rd, and start doing the same energies, but now with a brighter light. So Mercury is kind of like digging up the message. The sun will come through, shining a brighter light on this for all of us. And the last gate that Mercury will hit just at the very end of his transit through Scorpio and then on into his movement into Sagittarius is the gate 14. So we jump now down to the sacral center. And the theme in this particular gate, it's called the gate of creation in quantum human design. And this is a gate that has skills, power skills, right? Prosperity through doing what you love is a big theme in the gate 14. In fact, it's the only place where work or the work that you do or what you share with the world creates abundance or creates prosperity through money, right? Money, because that's what we use on this planet to, get paid for the work that we do. Now, the Scorpio tie in here is interesting because Scorpio is an alchemical sign, right? Alchemical is related to transformational, right? Alchemical means you take it in one form and you're transforming it into another, alchemizing, if you will, what the change is. And the alchemical thing that Scorpio is changing here is wealth, right? Money. And the transforming of your passion, of the love you have for what you do, and then focusing it into resources that then create abundance. That's the tie in from Scorpio to the gate 14 on the sacral. And the sacral center is the center of doing. So it turns into doing energy, doing what you love, what you're passionate about, and doing it, um, from the heart brings you prosperity, right? That's the gate 14. Now, as Mercury moves through Scorpio and this whole scorpionic territory, we're highlighting, or the themes that are being highlighted are ones that really help us to see depth, help us to see struggle or where it is that we struggle, patterns, right? And purpose and insight and this creative power that you have. And when you align your creative power with what you love, that passion turns into abundance, right? That passion that turns into prosperity. So this period of time with Mercury in Scorpio can be a time where words can heal or words can be used as swords to cut, and when conversations bring hidden truths into light, and when mental energy is focused on what really matters, right? That's what the Scorpio Mercury brings us. And you're invited to listen beneath the words. What's going on behind the scenes? What's underneath it all? To hear the truth behind what's being spoken, what's being said, right? Because a lot of what's being said out there in the real world right now is just fluff, is just distraction. What's underneath it all is what we're looking for. So we all become pretty good detectives during the time that Mercury is in the sign of Scorpio. And for those of you who already have Scorpio prominent in your chart, this just adds to this well of knowingness and intuition that you already carry. So, again, let's take a look at some reflections that you can have for yourself as you go through this energy of Mercury and Scorpio. What hidden patterns are coming up, and what are you being asked to see and then transform, right? Because it's there, you got to see it and then transform it. What do I need to face as a fear, maybe, or a struggle to find deeper meaning? What is it that you've got to face? And how can you use your words and your insights as tools for healing and for creation, not for destruction, right? Sometimes the destruction has to happen first, but it leads to the healing and the creation energy. All right. So, questions. Let's see. Good morning to other people who have popped in here. Christine asked, um, define spleen, Neptune, Scorpio, spleen, 28. So you have these gates defined. So you are probably every year about this time. And by this time, I mean during, late Libra and Scorpio time, maybe digging deep into things. Maybe it's a very psychologically provocative time for you where maybe the outer world is even showing you the depth of your own beliefs or your own fears, your own struggles, so that you would also be bringing out for healing. And yes, they can be related to past lives as well. In astrology, Scorpio rules the eighth house. And the eighth house in an astrology chart can often show the karmic past. And particularly if you have a south node in an eighth house or in Scorpio or even Pluto in an eighth house or Pluto in Scorpio can really show up as a karmic past that you are here to transform and rise like the phoenix from the ashes of. So it could be really interesting for you. TD Hawk, yep, that a partial path colored into a ladder stripe doesn't connect to the eight. Looks like Neptune is at the gate one. So there's a real creator within you, right? This is a purpose of being creative, self expressive, sharing your love, your passion for art, for music, for poetry, for drawing, for business, for whatever your passion is about, right? But because it's hanging there, you'll often question your passion. You'll often question your purpose. But your purpose, I can tell you, is to share with the world because it's going to connect with other people, right? The eight is, a gate that will connect to your contribution, right? So you will make a contribution when you live your creative purpose. And 23 is partial to 43, so it would connect them now. Yes, it would. So that's exactly right. If you have the gate 23, the 43 comes down from the ajna and connects at the throat center to the gate 23. The gate 23 is often called the gate of assimilation. It's where the brilliant epiphany ideas that are occurring in the ajna can come down into the throat, be assimilated and translated, if you will, transmissioned to others, right? So if you have the 43 hanging, let's say, then you're waiting for the time that either a planet or a person's gate 23 is going to allow that transmission to occur. And then your message lands, right, in the right timing with the right people, and they get your brilliance. Otherwise, you struggle with the words to be able to translate to others what you see or what you heard or what your intuition is, and it never quite lands with the other person. Right now, you look more like the freak than the genius, right? Out of time, right? Think of Da Vinci with, some of the drawings that you saw that Da Vinci had done, where there was no such thing as an airplane or a helicopter, yet he had drawings that very much resembled those things. And what others must have thought about him. Woohoo! Woohoo! Crazy. So, sometimes those things are needing to be held close until you have the right people and the right timing for you to share your brilliance. Tom, good morning to you, and you're welcome, Christine. And she said, Tamara says, I resemble your remarks. That's great. 23 and 43 are open. Scorpio is in the third house. So, Tom, let's talk about that for a second. The 23 and 43 being open means that there's no connection from what you know in the ajna to the throat. So you can't really speak from what you know, right? You'll have to speak from something further down, from maybe emotional energy, from identity energy, whatever it is that makes it. Actually, nothing makes it to the throat center in your chart. Now that I think about it, you have an open throat center. So you're waiting for the right timing, and the right timing for you to speak or share happens when someone says, Hey, Tom, tell me what you think, right? Or when life draws you in for that conversation. And third house, Scorpio, is about communication. It's about the mind, a very deep, penetrating mind for sure. But how often does that get you tripped up, right? Where you get caught in needing to transform your thoughts and your thinking, but you're caught in old patterns. Remember, 44, the gate 44 is the gate of patterns. And you likely have the gate 44 defined because you're only 3 weeks older than me and I have it defined. So it's probably there. Um, and LOL, no one asks. Well, keep your aha moments to yourself. Actually, here, Tom, I invite you to share your awarenesses with us here this morning. All right, let's jump to the full moon because I won't be here on Monday morning. Just reminding you, I won't be here. I'm out of town. On Monday, I'll be in California, hopefully sunnier and warmer than it is here right now. And I don't want you to go without knowing what the full moon is going to be about because it is a very jacked up moon because it's a super moon. And it is the first moon since the eclipses. So we are effectively bringing the eclipse window to a close on Monday with this full moon, right? Culmination, closure, completion. And that doesn't mean that there won't be echoes of those eclipses as time goes on, but the main window is closing for that. Now, this full moon on Monday the 6th, which happens at, oh, I can't see that. Oh, I can see it on my own copy because I have it right here in front of me. It happens at 11:48 p.m. Um, East Coast time. East Coast time on Monday the 6th, and that puts it at what, 8:48 p.m. West Coast time, but also puts it on October 7th for those of you in Europe and beyond, 3:48 a.m. Universal time on October 7th. And this is a supercharged moon, and that's as a supermoon, it's closer to Earth and it appears larger, it shines brighter. Supermoons really stir the tides of both the ocean, the weather patterns, and this body, being mostly water, is also stirred, and our emotions, and it amplifies whatever themes are coming up in your life. And yes, you're likely going to feel this one more intensely than usual because it is Aries energy. And the moon in Aries is opposing the sun in Libra. So we have the need for balance on one end. That's what the sun's been teaching us: balance and harmony, equilibrium, equality, negotiations being, or tact and diplomacy in negotiating. And Aries on the other side is sovereign and it's independent and it needs to be able to claim its self. So we have this opposition energy. How do we meld and blend our uniqueness in with others, right? Into relationships. So that's what this moon will be all about. It'll be the classic tension between independence, Aries, and partnership, Libra. So how do we balance that? And this is the first full moon since the lunar eclipse last month, making it this point of culmination. As I said, bringing everything together. So something may now be ending that was needing to end. Maybe it came into your awareness that it needed to end. Something may be reaching fullness now, and something may be coming into clearer view, right, from the muddledness of the eclipses, the emotional energy of the eclipses. Now, there are some very interesting aspects happening here during this full moon as well. We have been, for the last several months in our moons, having yods, right? Yod energy is difficult, it's tension filled, it can be anxiety producing. And we have a finger of God at this full moon pointed right at Mercury, which is right here in at the you can see the point of the green triangle here is in Scorpio at 0 degrees, having just moved in there before the full moon. So Mercury forms quincunxes or inconjuncts with Uranus in Gemini and Neptune in Aries. So they're up here, they form the base. Here's Neptune in Aries up at the top of the chart, and Uranus just to the left. They form the base of the yod, pointing down here at Mercury. So this forces sharp insight through tension, right? This tension energy, scritchy energy. Truth wants to surface, right? Truth wants to come up, piercing through confusion and disruption. Confusion, Neptune energy, disruption, Uranus energy. And then Mercury in Scorpio at that same time, Mercury right here at the point of that yod is in a square to Pluto in Aquarius. And Pluto in Aquarius is the energy that are experiencing of transformation on the collective level, right? On the humanity level. And that adds intensity and power struggles or deep transformation through words and revelations. And secrets again surfacing and integration is demanded, right? So we have that square to Pluto. I dare say that's likely going to be playing out more fully in the wider world. And then the Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio. This is another big one because she has been here for a little bit since I think early spring. And this is a deep, divine, feminine, archetypal energy where she's harmonizing, the energies. She's in a sextile to Venus in Virgo, and she's trine Jupiter in Cancer. So she's healing and creative here. So she's adding some creative healing energy to the moon's transit. And then Venus, of course, in the sextile to Jupiter is the softening influence of the whole of this full moon. So that's got a lot of potential for healing and creativity that can pop up out of the stress and tension of the yod that is happening. And with the sun in the gate 48 during the full moon, and the earth in the gate 21 were kind of pressed into balancing deep knowing, the things you know that you know but you don't necessarily know how you know, with responsible action, right? The responsible action part. And the gene key journey of this full moon takes us from inadequacy, right? The shadow energy takes us from that inadequacy to wisdom via resourcefulness, right? Tapping into your resources and living from your resources, knowing that everything you need is deep within you. The challenge will be for us to trust our wisdom and the wisdom that already lives, within you, while regulating how and when you share it, right? That's always going to be that part. And the Aries moon can push us toward rash action, right? It is, act first, think later kind of energy. So the call for us is to act with that Gene Keys valor, courage, right? But also wisdom, not from fear or impulsivity. It's a tall order, but it's happening all in this full moon. Now, the emotional and collective themes, what might we be experiencing as individuals and also as part of the collective? Well, I would expect intensity. It's already intense out there, right? It's already intense, but expect more. Aries brings courage and independence and fire, but also impatience and anger and frustration and quick reactions to things that are happening. Libra reminds us to remember we're not alone in this, right? That there is power in the group negotiation. Now, the supermoon is kind of echoing the eclipse from last month because it jacks up this energy. It Think of it as, shaking the fruit from the tree, and what's ripe is ready to fall, and it does, and what's not meant to will stay on the tree until it's ready to break loose. So, in other words, you can't force things to happen. You can't force an ending, you can't force a culmination, but what is ready to culminate or end, or the new beginning, the doorway that's opening up, will happen when it's the right timing. Now, collectively, with Mercury and Pluto engaged in the moon, we may see stories of exposure where we're seeing truths revealed, where voices that demand accountability and power struggles erupt. We see it here in the US, right? With every day a new city, being threatened by the Trump administration to be invaded by the military. And that is something likely that is a distraction hiding, something else that's going on behind the scenes, but interesting to watch nonetheless in this window of time as, secrets are coming up from beneath the surface. Now, the Black Moon Lilith's harmony with Venus and Jupiter at this time adds this theme of feminine justice and feminine reclamation, the suppressed voices rising kind of thing, and nurturing and creative energy that is expanding, right? Finding new ways to help others. So notice where independence and partnershiping energies are demanding balance in your life at this full moon. Pause before reacting, right? Aries is fire, it's fast, but wisdom emerges in the pause, the space between action in the mind and the action steps in the world. So maybe a good, journaling exercise for Monday would be, where do you need to reclaim or claim independence in your life? Independence from or independence towards something. Where do you need to honor collaboration? Because ultimately, we are living with other humans, and collaboration is a part of the Libran sun, right? Collaboration, cooperation, and co creation, the three C's of Libra. And how can I channel my intensity or the intense energies into courage, not conflict? Tall thing, right? So this super moon brings endings, revelations, perhaps, and catalytic awakening to everyone. It may not feel subtle. It might feel like it's in your face, but it's also here to shake loose what no longer serves you, what's tying you to the old, to the past, to the things that no longer work. And your invitation is to meet that intensity with courage, with self regulation, and with wisdom, right? Our big words from the Human Design Week. So you can move forward then with greater clarity and with alignment and with insight. So it's a very powerful full moon. Maybe, even more active because it isn't eclipsing, right? It's there in your face, that super moon. It's shining bright. So there we go. That is a lot of information for the day. I think I'm going to draw us a couple of cards. I have a couple minutes before I have to go. And I'm going to use the fairy tale deck, the fairy tale heroine oracle. And I'm doing so because I feel like with Venus, the Black Moon Lilith, and the moon in, and even Jupiter, even though it's not feminine energy, is in a feminine sign, right? Feminine energy. We're reclaiming the divine feminine at this point. So let's see what our heroine's journey brings us. I think we had this one already once. Dragon energy, card number 4. Look at that. Look at the power there. And let's see what this says. Oops. Okay, dragon, which suit are you in? I forgot this book does it differently. So, dragon is not in a task, it is not in a place, it's a guide. So, page 88. Here we go. The dragon is a symbol of might and mystery in so many mythic and folkloric traditions around the world, but the best known heroic sagas seem to require the hero to kill one. Sometimes in European folklore, dragons have a tendency to steal away beautiful young maidens to eat them, but sometimes they're depicted as the fierce but benign guardians of treasure. Dragons don't just guard jewels and great stashes of gold, though. They're also the protectors of sacred groves and springs. Whatever it is that he's guarding, the dragon is the guardian of the threshold that the fairy tale heroine is required to cross, the fierce creature who keeps her from accessing her heart's desire. There's a danger there for sure, because waking the sleeping dragon always carries risks. But the dragon can also be an ally if instead of simply trying to eliminate him, like the archetypal hero seems to prefer, the heroine recognizes him as a source of potential strength. Can she bring the dragon into her community so that something of his power will adhere to her and make her stronger? Hmm. What's the nature of the dragon who guards the threshold that you need to cross? How will you persuade him to let you pass? Good question. Good question. There's the dragon. All right. So that's our full moon card from the Fairy Tale Heroine Oracle by Sharon Blackie. Now, let's look at a different card, the Inner Temple Oracle. Let's bring it inward now. This is a new deck by Rebecca Campbell. And this is actually a very beautiful deck, but it's more subtle, I think, in its coloring and so forth. And we get Fated Life and Destiny Life. Ooh, this is interesting. A dual message. So if you look at it this way, you see a keyhole, a doorway, and it says Destiny Life. If you turn it upside down, you get a different kind of threshold, and it says Fated Life. So I'm going to be really interested to see what this is. And we're going to read both sides of this card. Destiny. Ooh, am I going to have to? Ooh. Destiny Life, Fated Life, page 114. I see. This is in the section called the polarities, which makes sense, right? Okay, so Destiny Life, this way. If we look at the card this way, Destiny Life. The soul path, the dream of your soul, trusting the call within, life purpose, courage will be rewarded, listening to yourself, daring and passionate, and what's true for you. On the other side, fated life, fated life. Let me bring it over there to the center. The safe option, doing the right thing in quotes, doing the expected thing, external influences, listening to the opinions of others and what other people want. It kind of sounds like the negative potential of Libra, doesn't it? All right. So, which part of the card is right side up? Which meaning is calling to you the most? How can you bring both parts and meanings into balance? The fated life is the expected life, the one that's most likely and the one you'll live if external circumstances direct you. It's the one you'll live if you believe what society, the people, and the systems say you are, and if you do what they say you should do. The fated life is the safe life, but in living it, you may find that there's music still in you that longs to be expressed, or a feeling of, is this all there is? The destiny life is the life that the soul dreams of. It requires listening to and trusting the wild and daring call within. It takes great courage to live the destiny life, for it requires that you trust yourself above all else. It requires you to truly live. With courage comes reward and fulfillment. The destiny life is the one you live when you choose to live consciously, to trust and follow the voice within rather than heed the noise and influences outside of you. You have a decision to make. Do you choose the fated life or the destiny life? Do you choose the safe option or the courageous one that makes you come alive? Hmm, good question. Good question. All right, guys, that's it for me. Uh, I I possibly will be on next Friday. It depends on where I am in my travels, but I will not be here on Monday. So if I don't see you by Friday, I will see you the following Monday. Oh, I won't even see you then because Terry has a doctor's appointment that morning. Well, okay, I might have to do a video for you in between now and the 17th. If not, I won't see you until the 17th. Ooh. All right, guys, that's it for me now. Let me know if you have any questions. Take care, and I'll see you soon. All right, bye for now.